Hi everybody, my name is Craig Wilson. I am the Principal Enterprise Specialist here at Avid. Thanks a lot for taking the time to join us today. For the next few minutes, I'm going to show you a demo of Avid Content Core, which of course we announced at IBC last year and has now been released. It was released actually when we were at the show at NAB in Las Vegas. Now, Avid Content Core is a content data platform. It's cloud hosted, running on AWS. And it really is that intelligence layer that we currently sit on top of your existing on-premise infrastructure and allow you to take advantage of some new AI capabilities and some more flexible ways of working. And I'm going to show you a little bit of what we showed at the show itself. So what we're looking at here is my homepage in Avid Content Core. And what this shows me is a variety of different things. So you can see here I have some trending items. Now, this is one of the ways that we're taking advantage of some AI technologies, where this would identify to users material which they would be interested in. So for example, if I'm working as a sports reporter, perhaps I'm interested in football, this would be showing me the latest items which are relevant to what I'm working. So the system essentially will learn what people are interested in and will begin to offer material to them. Recently added, obviously that's the most recent stuff that's come into the system. That of course could be feeds that have come in. It could of course be sequences that have been created. I also have easy access to some favorite searches, and we'll spend a bit of time talking about searching because search in Avid Content Core is actually delivered by Google. And of course, no one does search better than Google. And we're taking advantage of the Google Vision Warehouse technologies. And I'll explain a little bit more about that as well. And then we also have my collection. So a little bit like a shopping basket, I can gather things together and I can have them all here. I can have multiple collections as well. But let's talk a little bit about search to start with. So you can see here that I have the search bar available directly from the homepage in Avid Content Core. And I also have a search bar that's here. So let me go to search to talk a little bit about it. So those of you who have Media Central at the moment, this should look pretty familiar. One of the key things and themes that we're talking about is helping our customers modernize without disruption. And part of that is retaining some of the familiarity that people have from using Media Central Cloud UX, for example. So any transition into using Avid Content Core would be relatively simple and straightforward. Worth mentioning, of course, that production management, Avid Production Management, which again, we announced a little while back, is the kind of foundation for our production asset management systems and Media Central Cloud UX. All of these things remain supported. We've just had a new release of Media Central in the last few days, and a long-term maintenance release, so you'll find out more about that as well. But here in Avid Content Core, you can see I have two different types of searching. I can do an AI search and I can do an advanced search. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do an AI search. And one of the things about being able to search using Vision Warehouse is I can do natural language searching. So for example, here, I want to find some shots of Macron and Starmer. So type in, find me shots of Macron and Starmer, hit return to run the search. Now what this is doing is it's doing a search not just of the metadata, but it's actually doing a search within the actual file itself. So you can see here the first result. Now the results here are ranked by relevancy, okay? So it's bringing me up what it thinks is the most relevant result. So if I double click on that, it opens up the player because we have a built-in player in Avid Content Core. And if I look at the metadata here, you'll see in the metadata, in the name of the file, there's no mention of Starmer, there's no mention of Macron directly here. But if I go to the segments, I can bring up the content description. And you'll see here in the content description, this is where Vision Warehouse is doing a visual analysis of the actual file itself. And if I just click on here and play the clip a little bit, you see it's Emmanuel Macron. So what this is doing is this is much more than optical character recognition, OCR, which would perhaps tell me it's a man, there's a sign that says Paris on it, there's a flag. This is using Vision Warehouse, who knows who Emmanuel Macron is, so can provide that kind of context. And if I scroll down just a little bit further, you'll also see here we have shots of Keir Starmer as well. So that's how we can use Vision Warehouse to, do searching in Avid Content Core and just type in, some information. But you can also see here that I can also do an audio search. So let me just get rid of this. And this time I'm going to do an audio search. So I'm going to enable my microphone. Find me shots of the Italian Prime Minister. And I'm going to run that search as well. So again, here I've not actually named, the person that I'm looking for, but it brings back the same clip. And if I open the clip up, and if I just play this clip, you can see here, there's Giorgio Meloni, okay? So again, it understands the context of, what we're looking at here. I can also do, for example, a visual search. So for example, if I had an image of Giorgio Meloni, which I have here, it's a demo, of course, I can open that up. And I could do a search based on that. So I can do natural language searching by typing. I can just tell the system what I'm looking for. I can also do image-related searches as well. Now, as well as that, detailed analysis that we get in terms of the content description, we also get a transcript back. And what you can see in the transcript is I have multiple languages. So we have Macron, who of course is speaking in French. We have Starmer, who of course is speaking in English. We then have Giorgio Meloni, who is speaking in Italian, and we also have the German Prime Minister, who is talking in German as well. So we can have also multiple languages in a transcript, and of course that transcript is searchable as well. So search, very powerful in Avid Content Core, enabled by Google Vision Warehouse. But remember, of course, Content Core itself, the foundation, is built on AWS. Now I can also do advanced searching, and what I mean by that is, for example, here I have some favorites. I can also do searching based on metadata and AI, and it'll bring back results as well. So you can combine the AI search with a metadata search. You can have multiple metadata terms that you want to search for as well, and you can do all of that directly in Avid Content Core. But what are some of the other things that we can also do? So as well as searching and finding material, I could, of course, right-click on the material here, and I could say copy to my collection. So say I want to gather this together because I want to keep it for something else. I could do that later on. But you'll also see here I have the option of opening in the web editor. So let's have a little look at the web editor directly in Avid Content Core itself. So here we have the web editor. And if you open up this little panel here, you can see that I can bring material into my project. I also have a bunch of graphics that I can use here as well. So for example, if I go here, I'll just match frame back so we have things in both monitors. And if I just play the clip here, you see a couple of different things. The first thing to point out, of course, is that I have multiple tracks, and I can also have graphics. You can see here I have the Avid bug at the top left-hand side. But because I have multiple tracks, I can do things like picture-in-picture effects. For example, here, I can also put in, lower thirds directly in here. I can also do things like audio rubber banding. So for example, if I want to come in here, I can open up the audio. I can then mark keyframes in the audio, and then I can adjust the audio up and down as well. So I can do all of the different kind of leveling. And also one of the other things that I can also do, for example, if I open up the graphic, is I can see this in multiple different aspect ratios. So here I've got 16:9, but I can also do 9:16. I can also do square, and you can see that the graphic adapts based on what aspect ratio that I'm actually doing. So I can create material in multiple different aspect ratios. So advanced web editing is one of the key workflows that we have inside of Avid Content Core. But we also have built-in review and approval. So let me just go to the Tasks app, which is another app that we have here, and I can filter this to look at my tasks. So here are my tasks, and I can see one here is to review a sequence for oil prices. So if I double click on that, it opens up the review and approval app. And here I can see the sequence. So for example, I can of course play it back. And let's say, for example, I want the bug to be removed. So I can go in here and I can mark a specific frame with a comment, and I can add that. But I can also mark a span of time. So for example, say, from this in point to this out point, I want something to be changed. I can select use the span. And then here I go and say, change this shot as well. And then I can also add that in as well. So I can do review and approval. You'll see here that I have the option of choosing whether to approve this, whether to reject this as well. If I was to go ahead and reject it, then, for example, you can see here that there's a notification, and that's a notification that this has been rejected, so I could go back and have a look at it. Equally, if I was tasked with doing a review and approval, I would get a notification here as well. And then just really to complete this workflow, I can go directly from here to select to edit the sequence in the web editor. And what this does is it opens up the web editor along with the review and approval. And if I click on the timecode here for the review and approval app, it then takes me directly to that spot where I could then go in and I could make whatever changes I want to make. Then the final thing, of course, perhaps this has actually been approved and I want to actually go ahead and publish. Well, then I can go here and I can select to render. Now, what this can do is this can create multiple different versions for multiple different platforms in multiple different aspect ratios. So this can be pre-built to perhaps you want to post to one, or perhaps you want to post to all of the different destinations that you have here. Maybe you want to publish to your web CMS system in a particular aspect ratio, but you can go off and you can do that as well. So that's an overview of what we showed for Avid Content Core. Hope you found that useful. If you want to find out more, just head to the Avid website.